ready? It doesn't matter. It can be. That's the point, that you got nothing to say.
That I got nothing.
Yeah. Okay.
Because I do. GFW Radio. Listen to our podcast. Yo, yo. Hello and welcome to GFW Radio. Wow, that was loud. That was loud in my own ear. It's September 10th, 2008, and I'm here with the full Brodeo crew for maximum Brodeosity. Let's do the intros and get on with the show. You.
Me, Ryan Scott.
Anthony.
Robert Ashley.
Sean Elliott.
And we got Skip on the boards. And if anybody hears any crunching in the background, it's because Robert Ashley is eating his lunch right now, which is cheddar-flavored Chex Mix with 60% less fat.
Welfare. They take a box of mac and cheese and they dump the cheese powder into like cereal. You could probably make that on your own, actually, for cheaper.
Yeah, I wasn't really, looking to make my own Chex Mix. I was at Walgreens. I was starving. And I wish that they had left the 60% fat where it was so I wouldn't have to eat so much of it to get full.
60% less fat?
Yeah.
So it has 40% the same amount of fat.
Well, it
sucks.
sucks.
If I do my math correctly.
It sucks. I should have bought Doritos.
Yeah, you can't go wrong with Doritos.
Yeah.
I think the Doritos orange dust is the same as the Kraft macaroni and cheese orange dust.
I don't know. I don't think it's as sharp.
I want to know
really?
who of you guys has poured out the orange dust to eat it on its own.
We could have an orange dust, like blind taste test.
I wish that they sold Doritos orange dust on its own.
Oh my God, that'd be so good.
You could just put it on anything you want to.
Popsicles.
Like there would be all these like super ghetto recipes for making Doritos cake.
Fry a fish,
Oh my God.
fry a fish in it.
Yeah. Oh God, they would do that.
I bet.
Yeah,
Fried
fried
fish?
catfish and Doritos
They should
dust.
do like an Iron Chef with Dorito dust. I would so watch that.
The secret ingredient, Dorito dust. And then you get the shot of the chef, and they're like, "What will I do?"
Anyway,
Gelato is always the answer.
gelato.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Any weird ingredient, gelato. That's
Yeah.
the Iron Chef.
Have you guys watched Iron Chef America?
Yeah.
It doesn't quite do it for me. Not the same way.
It's all right.
It's all right.
They don't have enough foods that I find incredibly disgusting.
That's the thing.
Yeah.
They feel more normal on the American one.
Yeah.
Like last one I watched, it was just some fish. It's like, really?
Yeah.
I want to see, whatever.
And
Dorito
they try
dust.
to rip off the original presentation, which seems kind of ridiculous.
Yeah. Also, like last time I was on, because I'm always on that show. Last time.
Are you Iron Chef Doritos?
Yeah. Last time I watched the, they have the one chef, the one judge, his name is Jeffrey something or other. He's like that older sort of authority. He has like a lot of authority. He's written a bunch of food books. But then the person in the middle is often a guest. And this one last time I watched, it was some like random entertainment correspondent for Entertainment Weekly. And she looked like she was like 24 years old. And I was, when she was critiquing the Iron Chef's food, I was thinking like those guys totally looked like they were thinking like, who the fuck are you to judge my food? I really could have used with a little less mustard seed in that dish. This was really too pungent for me. And she writes like movie reviews. I was just thinking like, God, what for this guy to sit there?
You already sound like someone who's got a job developing games.
That's what I think about all you fuckers reviewing my Sims game. No, but it really did make me think about that. It did make me think that's probably what they think about us.
Since I'm the one who's consistently keeping the show off track and needs to be reined in by you, Jeff. since I will never, without you here, I'll do nothing but make dick jokes. I'll use this opportunity to bring us into the domain of games.
Okay.
Where on Shu and Crystal Sword not at you, at people on, at members, at people in our audience.
Yes.
Who for whatever reason think I'm absolutely incapable of like moderating my own behavior and switching between different
It's true. I got labeled as the guy who
personality.
keeps you in line when it's really quite usually the opposite.
It was just both back and forth. I mean, like when we talk, like right now, the whole Dorito thing, it's not because we can't contain ourselves and we just decide, like, hey, let's run with it and see what happens. We think.
Well, I thought it was.
Yeah, look at Robert. Robert doesn't even know he's here.
I'm just really regretting bringing Chex Mix.
I just thought it was
I didn't know
interesting
there were gonna
and
be
sad
cameras.
that this was your lunch.
Yeah, no,
and I thought it
it's
was worth
fucking
discussing
sad.
because it's a sort of a glimpse into your, vaguely pathetic life.
And
That's
if
what
you could see beneath this shirt, you would see the consequences of a life of eating snacks.
We are
Last
filming,
night-
so you could take the shirt off.
Last night
True.
we had dinner, and Robert revealed to us that he wears glasses so that people don't think he's. Well, I mean, he wears glasses to see better, but rather contacts because
Yeah.
you don't want to be taken as a perpetual stoner or something. But at the same
so
time,
this is the Sarah Palin glasses.
not only that, not only are they the Sarah Palin glasses, but a second after he got done explaining to us that this was the case, we're in this restaurant and he's doing the sounds of turtles mating sex at like full volume. We had to remind him that like you got the glasses on. Well, maybe we can get him to do that later.
Yeah, I don't know. I just noticed like in college when I got glasses, people treated me differently. Cause without glasses, I look like a fucking dumbass.
Did they punch you more?
No,
No.
not at all.
You had a better school life than I did.
When did you get? No, I'm not saying I never got. I said not punched more. I definitely got
Oh.
my ass whipped plenty. But in college, I didn't get my.
Oh.
Didn't.
You did
Get
That
ass
would
whipping.
would
You
make sense.
seriously
The
had
ass
people
kicking
like
stopped in college, didn't it?
assault
Yeah.
you for being different? Or for
No,
not
there was
being,
no
like-
assaulting for glasses. It was pretty common in college to have glasses, I think.
Yeah, as I say, like Ryan, like you really had people fuck with you.
Now that I think about it, not
In
not
college?
in college.
You're
Yeah,
just,
that
you're
would
just
be-
making it up. man.
When's the
You're
last
just
time you
playing
got
the
your
role.
ass kicked, Ryan?
Got my ass kicked. That's a pretty strong. Way of
That's
putting
slander
it.
to all the bullies out there
Or
in the world.
you
know?
kicked someone's ass. I was just sort of assuming.
Okay, that's an even. Yeah,
Okay,
I don't
so
know if I can answer that.
Okay, so
one.
when's the last
He
time you
doesn't
got
want
your
to,
ass
you
kicked?
know,
Was it
open
elementary
himself up
school?
to lawsuits.
Junior
I'm sure,
high?
I'm sure high school.
High school, you got your ass kicked?
I don't know if I got my ass kicked, but I certainly.
Like, how would you end up in a situation where there's like, an altercation in the first place?
Just people being jerks. Hey,
Really?
punch you in the
Sucks.
shoulder or something.
So you were like one of those guys in a movie where we would just walk by and hit you because you were
We?
kind of little. And
Because that was all of us.
Did I say we?
Yeah, we were the bros.
It wasn't me, man.
I guess
Wasn't
you
me.
could
No, I was like you though.
draw
got picked up,
parallels.
too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, so back to Shoe's blog.
Oh, we're back on
Shoe
that.
Crispin.
Yeah.
In their Sore Thumbs blog, they've been talking about just different aspects of what happens in the enthusiast press and when you're working with PR and so on and so forth. And the last week, an anonymous guy from a big publisher, he calls himself, wrote in and gave his version of things. And I asked you to read it, Jeff, just because I'm
did.
curious, because you're not going into PR,
Right.
but you're going to be on that side of the fence.
I did read it.
But the first thing I thought of was like when you describing how the chefs are looking at this woman eating their food with like total contempt. It was funny to me because again, in this PR person's sort of rebuttal, it's that developers put a whole lot of sweat and tears into these games, and when you see just how much is going into it, it's difficult to see someone that might potentially have an uninformed or less informed a perspective on it babbling. And like my immediate response, and I wonder what you guys think, is just the same. It's like, well, it's not like Eric Hartman, the famous World War II ace, didn't have to know how to design and engineer a plane in order to tell people whether or not it was an effective plane. I mean, he had like 360 something victories. Like not
Yeah,
all
well, it's,
not all
really,
people
it's like
that review-
discounting your audience. It's like game reviewers are no different than the people you're selling your games to. Like,
Yeah, that's
and
right.
so your audience isn't capable of saying whether or not the game that you've made is worth playing.
Yeah, that's
Like,
right. That blog post kind of pissed me off, and I felt like, well, this person is totally not getting the idea that we would be looking at it as being consumer advocates, that we're being representative of the people who will buy the game, like you said, and that therefore we're eminently qualified to do it. I mean, or not everybody is, but if you've done this for certain long and you know how to write, you know how to think critically, that certainly should be enough.
Well, that blog post kind of, implies that developers they want us to score games based on effort and not the final product. That's sort of what I got from
No,
it.
it's like what if the Iron Chef, his sister-in-law was in the hospital last week, and he just got served divorce papers. But what if he served you food that had like human feces in it?
Probably wouldn't eat it.
Well,
Like,
this
it
guy
sucks.
who
The story sucks, but are you
Yeah.
going to?
It depends. Is it a delicacy?
And that's for the. This is just for the What this is for is the whole score issue. That's ultimately the important thing, I believe, and it seemed to be the case in this blog response. I mean, Ryan, you were talking. I'm gonna make you talk. You were telling me about some issues you had with Topspin, reviewing a Topspin game.
Right, like a lot of the points, like this guy makes in this blog post are things I hear all the time as the reviews editor here. PR people calling up, angry about. It ultimately comes down to the score 9 times out of 10. And this specific case, I reviewed Topspin 3 for EGM, and I gave it a C of some sort. And the PR guy...
They passed.
The PR guy called me up, and he was upset about the score, and his immediate sort of defense, he's like, well, maybe you weren't the right person to review this game, And he started citing other people who had been sort of like positive about it from preview events.
You're just not a tennis guy.
Well, that's the thing,
You need to get your tennis guy on that game. Only a tennis expert could possibly review this game.
And this is part of the contents of this blog thing as well. And Ryan, you've got your.
That's the thing about I've been playing tennis games since Virtua Tennis. Every you wouldn't know it from looking at me, but I am a big fan of tennis video games.
You're an aficionado.
And so I have like I said to you, if you see how many hours of the original Topspin I've got. Yeah, I know tennis games very well, and from that perspective, I wasn't really digging Topspin 3 to the extent that this guy obviously wanted me to.
Yeah.
And I mean, he kept scrambling for excuses, and it was always centered around the score.
And it's also just funny to me. I mean, that is, I read that post, and he does talk about that sort of. Needing the press to the editors of publications to assign reviews to someone who really knows the genre.
Well, I think it's important to assign a review to someone who isn't going into it with an agenda. Sure. Somebody who I'm not going to give an RTS game to somebody who has never played an RTS.
Yeah.
There needs to be some familiarity and not.
But it's also just funny in the context of modern gaming when things are totally not really very specialized anymore. I mean, games are pretty open to everyone. I mean, is there really a first-person shooter type of person anymore? Considering the way that first-person shooter games cater to the masses now, do you really need to be an expert in first-person shooters to play Halo and understand what's going on in Halo?
Well, every critic's gonna have a different response anyway, and that's like when you were saying, Ryan, you wouldn't put a non-RTS player in an RTS review. I was thinking well, this is the good thing about having multiple voices respond to something. And not to pimp EGM or anything, but I mean, just in some ideal scenario where you have a podcast is more what I have in mind, where you have a chorus of people responding. That is not only is it a viable perspective, it's one that in previous parts of the whole promotional campaign for the game, I'm sure they were saying, well, we don't want to just make an RTS that's for the dude who's played every RTS that's come along. We want to show people that this is a genre that they shouldn't be frightened of or that they could get in, and that person's got a valid point of view, I mean, that was definitely my perspective on Company Heroes when I started talking about that. Then I think it's just as cool to have someone that have the perspective of the person who knows it top to bottom, can break down every single, the entire genealogy of system changes and just the convention differences.
Although that has its own drawbacks. I mean, I hate reading reviews where it's a history of the genre. Someone who has obviously played a lot of games and they want to tell you everything about it, and you get to the 2 lines of real criticism of the game after you've received this long genealogy of of what went into the games before it.
Well, if the genealogy, if you situate the game that you're talking about in that genealogy, and it's clear the entire time that you're only bringing up the context so that you can better understand the game. But yeah, I mean, if it's just I mean, we've seen those, the dumpiest ass reviews you've ever seen. It's I started off playing the Tokapon series when I was in diapers, and then I went to Japan, and then this game came out, and then it's suddenly you get to Nika Tiki, and then it's so that sounds more Hawaiian than Japanese. It's
yeah.
So what about it? What do you?
I mean, I guess in general, it's just you just want someone who is going to give it a chance and try to understand it and try to understand what goes into it.
And I think take it on the terms that it's presenting itself, or the developers are. What are they? What were they trying to accomplish here? Did they succeed at what they were trying to do?
Yeah.
I think that it's important for us to match a reviewer with somebody who gets the intention of and who the audience is. so that they're coming at it with realistic expectations.
And that's difficult too. I mean, because it's not necessarily a slippery slope, but I do think that down that road lies the whole fans of the genre trap. And that's where you get into they say that this game was made for this person, so we got to find just this person the whole time, or even worse, you aren't that person, but you're writing your review and you're conducting your criticism trying to assume that person's perspective when you really aren't having it. You're just imagining shit. And it's like, what if your gut's telling you this is horrible, I don't like it, but you're hypothesizing the existence of a person out there who loves it? What good does that do anything?
Well, that's totally different. I mean, I guess what I mean is that they understand. I'm bringing up this particular point because when I was reading some stuff about Spore, and not official reviews, but message board comments, and people were complaining about that this wasn't a hardcore enough strategy game, and I felt like, why were you expecting that? That's not what Maxis has ever done. They don't make that kind of game. If you were looking for some kind of campaign in which you were going to get increasingly difficult AI challenges, when has Maxis ever made that game? Never. And so I'm responding to that sort of thing. Like if you're gonna review it that way, you're not reviewing the game that Maxis ever had any intention of making.
Although, in the defense of those reviews that I've read the same stuff, I mean, the game has from day one been sort of framed as this epic thing that tries to explore the history of game development and different genres, and I think people expect.
Well, I won't dispute that.
Wired.
I'm not going to dispute that Spore has problems. It has a lot of problems, but just that specific idea that I'm disappointed because this isn't a hardcore strategy game is I never thought it was going to be a hardcore strategy.
But what about if you're not disappointed that's not necessarily hardcore strategy insofar as it conforms to the conventions of the strategy genre, but in that it's not, in that ultimately you don't find that it has only a fraction of the depth that early advanced looks suggested that it might be there in the game. I mean, the game has been presented at science symposiums. Like I said, it was on the cover of Wired. It was, in so many different contexts and suggesting to different people that this, there's something for scientists here. There's something for the most casual of gamers conceivable. And the other thing though is that I think so far, at least to my knowledge, even though that reaction has been strong among a select group of people to the point where, we now know that they're on Amazon mucking with the review ratings, turning it down because of the DRM mainly, but then also citing other issues about, the difference between what was delivered and their expectations.
A lot of it is
Maxis
just the DRM stuff.
is Will Wright in the response interviews I've seen has just said, the interviewer asked, is this the case that this game was dumbed down for a certain audience? And he'd be like, I think that's a fair statement, right? So that's the thing. It's if on their side, if he's saying that this is going to be a game that everyone's going to play, you can give it to your kid, maybe it'll, spark some interest in biology or something, then you don't turn around and try to pretend to the other person, well, at the same time, you're not getting it. This is actually the most complicated, game that's ever been released. He's just saying he's just you take the knocks. If you're stating that your game isn't for those people, then you really have to brush them aside. And so far, I think they're doing just that. It's there's 300 people, there's 3,000 people bitching on Amazon, but if there's fucking 5 million that buy this, you know what?
Right. I mean, I think somebody pointed out that despite all the Amazon hubbub, it was still the #1 game on Amazon, even with all of those.
It probably contributed to it.
Maybe. And certainly the DRM thing is a real issue, and I'd say a fuck up on EA's part, and not a cool. I don't think this has been handled well, and I think that I don't know. They've come out now and said that the DRM would be in Red Alert 3, but that they were going to allow for more installs. I guess up to 5 now. But I personally am about to face this exact issue with my copy of Spore because I have to do a system wipe on my machine at home, which is just completely borked. So I have to reformat it and reinstall Windows, and I'm going to lose my Spore install, and I've already installed it twice.
Say you've had 3 you could still contact
them. 3
them.
times?
Does it
then you gotta. I don't know. I personally find it offensive to have to call somebody and say, "Excuse me, I used all 3 of my installs, and I swear I'm not a criminal. I bought this game. I don't have my receipt, but I did buy it. I hate being treated like a criminal or with suspicion, and just buying a game that automatically assumes that you might be the type of person to just spread it all over the internet or give it to all of your friends or something.
I mean, we all get why they're doing it. Everybody in this room gets why.
Sure, yeah.
That's not in dispute, and we don't want their game stolen either.
Yeah.
I mean,
it's
important to the industry, but there's got to be other ways, and certainly, companies like Valve have figured out other ways in which there doesn't have to be this kind of draconian
The
system.
irony is that Spore was leaked to the internet before it ever hit retail.
and that the people bitching on Amazon are most likely the ones that stole it.
Right. Or would never have bought it in the first place.
Yeah.
So I think that those, you can dismiss those morons.
Yeah.
But the DRM issue is real for sure.
Yeah.
And
So wait, after you install it 3 times, you just can't ever install it again?
No, you got to call a number and
get
that's
more
like
installs.
That's like a Windows install. Have you ever had to do that? Like call Microsoft?
It's like trying to cancel your Xbox Live subscription. Try that one day.
Or your Game Tap subscription.
I brought this up before, but it's difficult.
Really?
It's a lot more drama than I want. It's like
can
it's
you
the
not
whole
just
situation.
cancel over the system?
Like when you want to if you're going to cancel your cable, you recently switched to another cable, internet, and TV cable provider, and you have the whole confrontational thing where why are you sure? What can we do to make you not want it? It's like, no, fucking cancel it. I wish can I just press a button? Why do I have to talk to you? So I mean,
I just got rid of HBO that way, and I did it online, and it was awesome. I didn't have to justify it at all, and I had it ready in my head because I thought for sure I'm gonna have to.
It's like breaking up with the girlfriend.
Yeah, I know. It's like I'm sorry, you got Sopranos is over and The Wire's over, and the new shows don't appeal to me, and I'm sorry.
I think it'd be
I'll
fun.
I'll come
though,
back after the vampire show starts.
But
then no one called me on it.
I think
awesome.
it'd be funny though to call and be like, I want to get rid of HBO. Oh, sir, can we ask you why? Well, how familiar are you with season 5 of The Wire?
That's really specific.
I mean, spoiler alert, but
right.
yeah.
Yeah, what you did to Proposition Joe, I just wasn't down with that.
Oh yeah, I
that
can't
would be
stand
video game fan territory then.
Yeah.
I'm sure actually it probably happens.
I'm sure it happens all
If
the
we
time.
have a listener that actually works in whatever quality assurance, what would the department be for HBO?
Oh, don't you think?
Write us in.
Somebody
You've gotta
calls
have
HBO
stories.
probably every day,
Yeah.
after some episode of whatever, and it's like, how could you have possibly done that to Joey?
Yeah.
Oh no.
Yeah. Sorry, sir. I'm just working in circulation.
You being you, Jeff, and Robert have been playing Spore, and I know, Anthony, you started last night.
I did.
So I want to hear about the game itself, DRM and all that shit aside.
Haven't you been playing too?
Anthony got it for me for my birthday last night, and sorry, my phone's ringing. He got it for me for my birthday last night, and I didn't have time to.
You should take it.
To play it, and but I'm
Who's
gonna
on the phone?
be
You
doing
should
it
take
tonight.
it. That'd be
It was
great.
unavailable, which means it's the usual.
It's the California
Marketer.
political cause calling to tell you to vote no on Proposition 7 or whatever.
It's some usual shit. It's
Yeah.
probably what is the difference between a pit bull and a hockey mom? A pit bull believes in evolution and climate change.
Oh god.
Oh man. Okay,
so
so back
Spore.
to Spore.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
So I've only
Let's start with Robert. We can't trust you anymore.
Spore's awesome. Hey, I'm the one who
2
dissed
thumbs
their
up.
DRM.
Joking.
No, I've played through the cellular stage, and I'm at the end of the creature stage. So I just got it on Sunday night, and I have not been able to play as much as I would like. So far, though, I have no idea. I don't think that I could possibly say that I have a grasp on it enough to see how the reviews stack up. I do really enjoy playing with the creator though, which I never got to download. I never got around to doing that, and I've spent most of my time doing that.
Mm-hmm.
So it's pretty enjoyable. But I'd be interested to see what else is there in the game to do. Right now I'm in the creature stage, and I'm hunting for fruit and following my family across the whole geographic area to find my next nest, and then befriending people. I haven't really had any fights or anything because I'm an herbivore, being max chill.
So you running from predators or anything?
I ran into one predator who destroyed me. It was some giant creature.
They do that, yeah,
epic.
random gigantic creatures.
Yeah. But mostly I've been, dancing and singing and giving peace a chance.
How does that make you
with
feel?
a lot of different animals. It's pretty fun at first, and then I do it a million times, and I'm I think I want to kill some of these animals.
Do you know what's going to happen to you yet if you keep evolving that way as a peace-loving, hacky sack little
I don't
birthday
know.
hippie dude? Do you want a spoiler?
Yeah, spoil it.
Because this is what I did, and it actually was a little disconcerting to me.
Yeah.
If you go along whatever path you go along, when you get to the next phase of the game, so you're in creature and you're going to go into you're in tribal now, I think.
No, he's in creature.
You're in creature. You're going to go into tribal. Okay. It starts choosing for you what kind of society you are based on your actions. So if you continue along these lines of being the peace-loving, I love everybody, I'm going to make friends with everybody, soon you will be a religious zealot.
This is even in the manual, it was clear that
just letting you know ahead of
there
time.
are basically 3 affiliations in each stage. And in the first, it starts off like Robert was saying, herbivore, omnivore, and carnivore. And then it seems as though there's an equivalent choice along every, in every different phase, to the point when you get to the space phase, it's like religion, economy, or warrior sort of scenario.
Yeah. You have the chance to influence it and go in a different direction. But if you pursue a particular way, you're locked into that. So what bothered me when I got to that stage, and I said this on some other podcast, it must have been the Wild podcast, but when I pursued that peace-loving way, and then when I got to the Civ phase, and I had to, to win that and go on to space, I had to convert all the other cities, and the way you do that is very aggressive, and it's a funny animation. It's nicely done. A giant holographic image of you towers over the opposing city, and you're sort of speaking with megaphones, basically. And they eventually get converted to your religion. And I thought, well, fuck. I didn't want to be like some religious despot. I was preaching love and peace.
That's
Why do
I guess
I don't want to do
that's
this.
I guess that's what it makes sense. I mean, pacifism was a religious idea historically before it was ever a political.
Sorry.
Go ahead.
Go on.
I'm just saying that I would say that taking the violent approach to me rather speaks of the founding of most religions and stuff like that. A lot of them are founded on a bunch of conflict and early tribal warfare and stuff like that. So it seemed to me like in your tribal phase, if you were all aggressive, it'd kind of be, Israelites.
Right, I thought we'd all hang, and then they just want to be with me. They'd convert to my Civ just because I was cool.
Planet Love.
Exactly.
Yeah, maybe you'd be
This is the interesting thing about the game, I think, for me, is that when I played, I want to look at its implicit messages. And, when we talked to Will Wright last, I asked him what he saw with implicit messages in the game. It's not I'm not expecting. It's not like if the messages are good, then I like the game. I'm just irrespective of review scores and all that shit, I just want to see what it says. And even looking at the manual, I started to see some, for example, after you get to the spacefaring stage, you're able to basically take your build and re-roll it more or less by adopting the religion or the culture of some other thing. It's almost like you then become whatever they are. So it's like I could convert to Jeff's world or something. And an implicit message there is that at least when a species gets to this, spacefaring stage, that there's, I don't believe in genetic determinism, but what this suggests is that there's no longer any relation or no longer any restrictions whatsoever or shaping force from their history and their genes. And in this case, we'd give you some examples, say a predilection for interspecies violence, or any of these kind of things. It's you just wish them away and you become whatever you want. And another example would be if you're an herbivore, you're immediately becoming the Hare Krishnas of the world. And it's meanwhile, we know there are plenty of herbivorous species that kill members of their own. They fight to the death. I mean, look at rams and stuff.
They just don't want to eat them
until they break their necks.
Well, you can't, and you can do that in the game though. As an herbivore, you can kill the other species. You just don't eat them. But you can kill them.
That's true.
Right. But I mean, if you're saying as you progress into the next stages, then the natural.
Well, if you kill enough of them, then the game will say you are a predator. You're an herbivore, but you're a predator.
What happens, say, for example, if you do like Robert and you start off as a carnivorous creature and then you end up changing your affiliations as you go into the tribal or more likely the civilization phase, and you're like, well, I'm going to be an herbivore now. Eating probably doesn't even figure in the civilization phase, I'm guessing.
I don't
it's
think
another
it does
game
at that point. Yeah, it's another game.
Yeah.
Right. Then it's basically how you're taking over the other civilizations. And at any point, you have the option of how to do it. So, you are making choices that matter. But it's the simplicity of the choices that at times bothered me.
It sounds like, I know the answer to this question just from the reviews and stuff I've read, but say, what if you wanted to experiment and you want to lay your egg in a nest of another creature. You want to basically try to become a cuckoo or something like that. I mean, there's nothing like that, right? I mean, it's just no.
My understanding, though, is that I could be wrong, but I think that's something that unlocks if at a certain point after you've been in space for a while. You're talking about like interspecies.
No, in that
breeding,
case,
or?
a specific like the cuckoo bird, and what the term cuckold comes from, is the bird will lay its egg,
Right.
and its egg is colored to resemble that of whatever species nest it's laying it in, and then because of the way that the other bird works, it's not like based on recognition of its own offspring so much as if something hatches in its nest, then it takes care of it. It's therefore its own offspring, and of course you'll see a cuckoo bigger than the host bird, and it pushes out. Not only that, it's further evolved so that once it hatches prior to the other eggs in the nest, and then its first act is to push those eggs out of the nest so they fall and crack. And then so basically what's happening is this other bird's raising it. So I'm just saying situations like that.
That's not really that different from the way it really is in the game. Because I mean, when you create a new version of yourself, it can be completely different from everything that came before in what you've done genetically. And then when you hatch, it's just you. The other people are around, but I mean, you are in the driver's seat. You might as well be the cuckoo bird.
Right.
Yeah.
So there's another.
Yeah.
So what else about this?
I do like the creators a lot. So all of those tools, and I do think that's where a lot of the longevity for a lot of the players is going to come from in this game. It's just people who like to make cool shit and will keep making it. So I think some people are going to take those tools and that's going to be the game for them, and they'll probably get a lot out of it that way because the tools are pretty amazing. And what I liked was that at every stage there was another tool to play with, basically. So like I actually didn't know, I guess just from not paying attention during previews, that like I could design my own plane or I could design my own boat. I was surprised when that stuff came along, and that stuff's pretty neat. So
I do think that maybe sports suffers from having been like way overexposed, in that like every aspect of the game was revealed to people who were following it way before anyone saw it. It would have been interesting to see. I mean, we talked about this before, I think, but like, what if we didn't know about anything after the creature stage and just kept on going?
Right,
which will be the case for a lot of people that pick this game up.
Yeah,
I do think like I was thinking the other day when I was playing it, like it feels like too much in a way. Like it was overambitious from the start. I mean, we knew it was from the start. They knew it was from the start, and then they did have to kind of scale it back at the end. But I feel even and I actually asked Lucy Bradshaw this when I interviewed her, was that, like, couldn't you have taken any one of these phases and gone laterally out and just made a game out of that phase? That it almost feels like each one is just not quite as great as it could have been if that one got the loving treatment that the whole project did. And I feel like you really feel the for me, like the tribal and the Civ state, and I know this is not a minority opinion, are the ones that feel like kind of like cobbled together, and you're just sort of waiting to get into space. And space to me feels much more like the game that Will actually wanted to make the whole time. And that may not be true, but that's how it feels to me, that like, okay, this was all sort of the prologue to get out here into the thing that he's really into.
And if you want that, you can start the game in the space stage.
I don't think you can, though. Last night when I started it, it was like I went to go check out if I could play the phases. And yesterday it said that I had played enough of the creature phase to unlock the civilization phase.
Yeah,
so
that's the first time through.
The
first time through, you have to play each phase a certain amount of time. You don't even have to finish it before it unlocks the next one.
Let me play devil's advocate and ask this. Like, when The Sims came out, I think it made a lot of sense to a great many people that the idea that you could, have these little humans that have romantic relationships and mansions and all these things, people could immediately identify with it, even if it wasn't like the typical gamers, the ones that get angry that Wii Fit exists and this kind of shit. But you kind of hypothesize, you're like, yes, I see why people are going to latch onto this, and I predict success for this. Do you think that Spore has that same ability that people are going to say, I want to make weird creatures and spaceships and stuff.
I think so.
I do. I think it's already doing
It's
that.
already there's already been like 10 million creatures that have been made.
I don't see it being the same kind of like cultural phenomenon because I don't see what stories you can tell with Spore, like compared to like specifically girls who play The Sims. Like every like Super Sims fan I've ever known, I have friends who are really into it. They're all girls and they love like the domestic narrative that they make with The Sims. They love like creating situations for people where they're like humiliated or have like a romance and it goes awry or whatever. And those kinds of stories which like people relate to so much are not going to be happening in Spore. The Spore stories are much more guy stories, you know, stories about like aliens coming to conquer your planet or like battles or growing bigger and stronger, you know.
But conceding that we're stereotyping women here, like say you want to, say you want,
Yes, let's
They like
concede that.
domesticity.
say you want to anthropomorphize Spore in that same way, and what you just described about the war guys going out and conquering the universe and stuff is totally different than what you said. You just had, I mean, yours was and Jeff's too. I mean, you guys are like the happy joy stuff, and I mean, I can imagine all your characters going like, boo-ba. shit like that. So, is that? I mean,
I don't mean to like divide it into like male and female or like aggression versus.
I think what you're getting at in one way is that it's not really at this point in the game's life. It is not the kind of sandbox game that The Sims is or that SimCity was really. Like, you know, it's very goal oriented in each phase. So there isn't this sort of just like breadth to you on the phone, man.
oh shit.
Okay, get it this time. Let's see who it is.
Get it.
Let's see who it is.
Put it on speaker.
Yeah, we all want to hear.
Let's not do that. It's not a good time. I don't feel good about that.
We have your
silence. Get
erotic
back-
message of the day.
The stereotyping.
Oh, Sean, I just want to stroke you. Thank
Love
you.
Larry.
Actually, we were stereotyping, and this is for those two listeners that think I can't contain myself. Right
Yeah.
now, I've made a choice. I'm like, you know what? We've been fairly serious. We can have like a joking digression. So like, just chill the fuck out. No, but last night we were stereotyping genders based on gameplay, but in a really weird way. Talking about playing what is this fucking thing called?
Smarty Pants.
Smarty Pants. Every time you play
Smarty
it. And there's a
Pants.
tug of war game in it. And whenever this one comes up, basically what happens is you're fighting over who gets to answer the question. So it's called an I know it card. So say for example, Melissa buzzes in first, and I play my I know it card. I don't immediately get to answer it. We then, wage a tug of war. And the way it's played is by holding the Wiimote sort of like a Pinot and jerking it, So we're playing, and every time, like, I would just, like, win that shit in an instant. And Melissa would be like, what the hell? Like, what do I got to do? And I'd, like, look at her, and, like, it was like that look in my eye, and I was like, this is what you got to do. And so, like, Robert and Sarah were having, like, the same discussion because she always loses to that.
Yeah.
But then we started, like, stereotyping the other way, and we're like, but like, you got the advantage in games with, like, rapid fire button pressing and stuff. You know what I mean? So there we go.
Yeah.
Back to Spore.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I think it's probably more just what you're saying that, like, as of right now, Spore's not really that kind of sandbox that would allow you to set up these kinds of situations that people love
and
to
just
set
let
up.
and just let it roll and see what happens. I mean, the
I
only
could
sandbox is really the creators itself.
Yeah, but I could definitely see Spore getting there. I mean, The Sims was
Yeah.
a long project. I mean, it was added to over and over and over again. So.
Right. That's what my suspicion is that they will see what people are trying to do now and evolve it from there. And I bet that they will sort of maybe like go granular with certain modes, like the super popular ones. Like if it ends up being creatures, like everybody plays, because they'll be able to tell. Then they'll do something to just expand that part out.
As for the popularity, what I think it could leverage is just this idea that, just customizability is huge right now. I mean, whether, and also that, but not just the ability to customize things, but like little anthropomorphic doodads and trinkets and stuff. I mean, if you walk around our floor and you see how many little either like vinyl toy animals and things there are, or for girls,
You know,
like,
that's not like
Hello Kitty type stuff, and
That's mostly Shane.
this is
and also
just
that's
floor.
not like America or anything.
I
That's the office of a video game
It-
website. People
was-
don't in their
okay.
offices typically have like their cubicles full of tiny like toys from Japan.
I use that because it's an example close to hand. If we go to Walmart and we walk through Walmart and we go through the stationery aisles, we go through the kids' backpacks, we go through, I mean, just the difference. You go through the DVD section and look at the kind of like cartoons that have been coming out and stuff. I do think, I mean, that there's a case like, in case like Urban Vinyl or something, small group of people do it. But I think as far back as like, Hello Kitty and shit, and Sanrio's been huge for the longest time among mainstream America. There's Sanrio shops in malls in Tulsa or wherever. That people like that sort of thing, and I'm sure. I mean, look at also like why do you think I'm lying? What's this?
No,
I was
no.
laughing at him trying to quietly chew his Chex Mix. It has
and
nothing to do with
and
you.
I'm fucking jealous.
He just has
man.
this like a kid eating candy
you can
in church
absorb
or
that-
something. He's just,
Yeah.
don't notice me.
I
ever get-
wish I could eat such a big handful of that right now.
I remember sitting in church like a lifesaver. You basically get it down to just like a tiny razor thing, and you keep like showing your friend. You're like really surreptitiously just be like, oh. Just like show how like basically making a game, trying to entertain yourself.
I don't think I ever made it past like 20 seconds with a lifesaver in my mouth before eating it. Yeah.
You haven't been to the churches I've been to, man.
I bet.
Well, you mean
That's
you
the
can't
one-
resist but to bite into it?
Yeah,
Is
you
that what you're saying?
can't.
This was specifically that church where the incarcerated former pastor would phone in from the prison to talk about because he had bombed an abortion clinic and would
Oh, God.
talk about all the wonderful things and to tell us about the various disciples that and
And to ask
apostles
you
that
guys
ended up in
to get
prison.
some money up to send him some cigarettes.
Okay, so maybe to finish the sport thing,
Yeah.
my point was just that like people like cute little things.
Yeah.
Sure they do.
So maybe on those
And
grounds,
Spore is a
it'll-
cute little thing, says oneup.com's Sean Elliott.
No, it's a game in which you make cute little things.
Yeah, go look at the things Alice has made. It is all cute little things.
Yeah.
Yeah, my creatures have been unabashedly cute. I haven't made anything very gross.
Are they all
Huh.
herbivores?
Well, even the gross shit looks cute, right? I mean, you can have the train of animals like.
I guess.
Tapping
I've seen
each
some
other's-
really
You can-
ugly
There's some
stuff.
No.
nasty stuff.
But I guess
Yeah.
you're true. The art style of it kind of keeps everything kind of looking kind of dopey in a cute way or something like that.
Yeah.
Even when it's all
Yeah.
aggressive.
It is interesting to see, to me, like the way they try to unify everything in Spore by controlling like parts. It's like you can really do a lot with what they give you. It's sort of like the Mii's on the Wii, except for like way more options.
Yeah.
They give you these standard parts, and then it's like you're amazed by what people do with them.
Yeah, that's the thing is that,
Yeah.
like I'll be thinking when I'm using the creator, like, well, maybe I've kind of hit the limit of what this thing can do. And that's so wrong. Because
Yeah.
when you go up onto the Sporepedia and you see the stuff people have made, it's like, how the hell did they even think to do that?
Yeah.
I really think that's the cool part of the game is that the tools that they gave for people to make stuff that they could never make. They don't have those kind of skills to use
Do you think
actual
those-
professional 3D software. That kind of thing is really a cool thing.
You think
Yeah.
we'll see a market where there's like specialist sport creators that then like try to sell their stuff on eBay?
Oh
and
God, yeah, that sounds.
Would that
pretty-
work? I mean, can't you just?
Yeah.
Don't you just share it? I mean.
You don't have to if you don't
Yeah,
want to.
okay.
If you think that you're like who's the glass blowing dude? The Chihuly of fucking Spore. And you-
Nobody makes a spaceship like me.
and then you put that shit on eBay. You could be like,
Well, you-
sign it, like.
Yeah.
Yeah, you probably could do that, couldn't you?
When I was listening to Will Wright on NPR, he was talking about how the Creature Creator was like their flagship thing in the sense that the whole thing they were trying to emphasize on NPR was that he wants it to not be like a teaching tool. He doesn't think that Spore is something to teach you about evolutionary biology or anything like that, but he wants it. He referred to it as it shouldn't fill a bucket, but it should spark a flame to like make people want to learn about like that's his goal. I
Right.
mean, his
And
goal
that-
is like,
to be-
oh, maybe I'll go pick up a book about evolutionary
like,
biology.
I mean, like if Carl Sagan became who he was because he grew up watching Buck Rogers, I mean that's about that level. I don't want to knock that, but I mean that's really the level of correlation. I don't want to knock it because it could really. I mean, there's a whole generation of people that grew up in the post-war era. They're absolutely fascinated with space travel, with
yes.
and it had to do with like the pulp, sci-fi pulp, and in earlier eras before that.
To be fair, at his speech at the sport launch event, where Will Wright said, like, a big reason that he got into doing it, all this, and interest in science and all the research he did was because he watched, or he read sci-fi books growing up.
Right, and
that's,
he's I think a year or two older than me, and he talked a lot about the, NASA and stuff on television when we were boys, when people our age were boys in the late 60s, to seeing that the landing on the moon was like unbelievable. And I mean, imagine being 9, 10 years old
the Challenger
and seeing that shit, Yeah.
So yeah, I would. I want to play a game like Spore that's like about evolution, but where you have no direct control over the appearance of the species. The only way you do it is by like punishing the animal.
Or
like I want you to have a really
like,
long neck, so all your food is way up here. Come get it. Come get it. Come get it.
Yeah, it's kind of a reversing in Spore, right? You can design a really long neck, and then you can reach the fruit that they did put up there in the game.
You would control selection pressures. That would also be be other creatures that share the ecosystem as well and stuff. But everything you're talking about.
Or you just add some horrible predator just to see what happens. I mean, I'm sure that this is something that would be so incredibly difficult to make. And I'm sure it's something that they were thinking of at the time. But yeah.
It's time for a candy break.
Right, and then it might be time for a real break. Yes,
really?
Says the crew.
Well, should we take a real break first?
Let's go out with a candy break before we take a break. Richie Churchill sent us buckets of toxic waste.
Can't you just pass out good-looking candy?
These were made in Pakistan, and there's a warning on it. It says consuming more than one within a brief time may cause irritation of the mouth.
Dude.
Sensitive individuals should not consume this project.
I'm sensitive.
All right, eat your toxic waste. We got a minute.
It says 15 seconds you're a total wuss, 30 seconds you're a crybaby, 45 seconds you're a toxie wannabe.
What the hell is it?
60
Open it up
seconds.
And eat it. Come on, go.
All
right.
God.
That's not bad. Tastes like a penny, but it's not bad.
Toxic waste. Did you guys all put it in your mouth?
Hell no.
It's not that bad.
I'm doing it.
It's just kind of.
Oh, God.
Come on.
Oh, come on.
That's disgusting.
He didn't even make it to 15 seconds, man.
Jeez.
You're below a total wuss.
I'm not going to. I know I am.
I'm past this out.
Yeah, I'm half. Now it's just delicious
now I know
candy.
I'm never eating this shit again.
Let's find out if it's true about more than.
Yeah, we'll be back.
At EA, I'm going to get some real candy. We'll be back after a break.